Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? This is Jonathan with The Healthy Archer. Cooking for you today, gnocchi with some tomato sauce and some white mushrooms. So this is Funky Friday. I'm going to try to make this a regular occurrence. Every Friday I'm gonna make a lunch, my lunch with you. So we got the funk going in the background. I'm not sure if that's too loud. That's pretty loud over here. So Alexa, stop. That's how you do it right there. If you guys don't have Alexa or an Echo, that's big news right there. All right, really simple. One of the reasons why I'm doing this, doing these Facebook Lives, is simply to try to make simple and repeatable and replicable dishes if you all want to try. Trying to minimize the amount of prep work, trying to minimize the amount of ingredients and all that. So basically all we've got here, that's starting to get pretty warm. I've got the pan starting to heat up. I've got the water heating up. I've got pre-packaged gnocchi, which is it's a pasta. They're super soft. They're like little pillows in your mouth when you eat them. One of my favorites. That and ravioli are probably my favorite pastas, but they even taste good as pre-made. I've never made gnocchi before, but I don't think it's that hard. One of my favorites. Just some regular pre-made pasta sauce we'll be using. Some white mushrooms. I've got, I think I got 6 here for 5 or 6 would probably make for 1 serving. 1 garlic clove. Got some parsley over here, and that's about it. And some Parmesan cheese we'll finish it off with. All right, so to start, we'll just clean off some of these mushrooms. Sometimes they're grown in soil, like normally some kind of manure, so you want to either clean them in water or get like a mushroom brush or something of the like. Grab them by their stem and just give them a nice little flick, right? And then we'll be breaking those stems off. Boom. 3, 4. And if y'all like what I'm doing here, let me know. Join my Facebook page, The Healthy Archer, if you haven't already. And let me know if you want to learn how to cook something, like something specific, something that's bothering you, something that you haven't had success with. If it's easy enough, something that I can do in a live format, I'll do it in a live format. If it's something that's a little more complicated, I can try to do it in a more edited down video. All right, so we cleaned off the mushrooms, and normally what I do is I just kind of break off the stem part of it, right? Give it a flat surface. You know, you can just break it off. It kind of like pulls off, or you can just kind of cut off the bottom part of the stem. The whole point here is to get to have a flat surface so it's not rocking on the cutting board, so you don't hurt yourself. Right? Okay. I've got my workstation all set up. Nothing's really in the way except for the gnocchi. And then I'm going to cut these into quarters for most of the part. Pretty easy, right down the middle. Hold it together and turn it to the side. And then we're going to cook down these mushrooms. What I normally do is I cut once down the middle. Remove your hand. Down the middle. Twist. Place the knife. But don't press down and then press down. That prevents injuries. Or at least I think it does. That is should be up to temp. That's about a medium right now. The water is starting to boil, so we'll turn it down a little bit because the gnocchi cooks super fast. It cooks in like 2 minutes. That's it. Okay, oil's in the pan, mushrooms in the pan. That's the sound we like. Want to hear that nice sizzle? Don't need too much oil. The mushrooms are going to absorb most of the oil. And we're just waiting for all the water, or most of the water, to evaporate off the mushrooms. And then once that happens, they'll start to brown, and they'll start to get some nice flavors. The umami will deepen in flavor, that kind of meaty texture. Because we don't actually have any meat in this dish, but it will taste really good with the mushrooms. All right, I'll cut up some garlic right now. You don't have to do this at all. I just have, because I have a store-bought pasta sauce, I'm just going to intensify it a little bit come the time. So I cut off the root end of that, spank it down, and then we'll cut it, not too fine, but we'll cut it to a fine chop, I guess. All right, another one of the things that I find in general, and that I found really helped me once I started kind of being a little bit more regular in the kitchen, was to stop relying on recipes. As great as recipes are, they keep us anchored to the book, and or keep to the cookbooks and whatnot. And we tend to not really. Oh boy. I have a feeling my smoke detector is going to go off here, even though nothing is burning. But so I'm going to go move that smoke detector to get ahead of it. There it goes. Yeah, this is awesome. Love this. Okay, this needs to get moved. All right, I'm back. I also have the window. I've got a window right behind here. And no effective vent. Because I'm in New York here, and they don't really have this kind of stuff. And when I open the window, you're going to get all sorts of street noise. So I close it. So here we are. Garlic. These are coming through pretty nice. You can see most of the oil is actually absorbed by the mushrooms. But now they're just starting to kind of get a little bit brown. All of this is all just water. All water coming off the mushrooms. Chopping this garlic up. All right, if you want, you can just do a hands away, bring it together. I'm not going to do anything too crazy with this garlic. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to go too fine. It doesn't have to be precise. I'm not going to do it like that. All right, good. These are, I don't know, pretty small, not super fine, not a mince. And I'll cut up some of this parsley. This parsley was super old. All right, I'm not going to lie. I had to kind of throw out most of the bunch. Sometimes I find it hard to use parsley. I don't cook pasta too often. I maybe cook it once every 2 weeks or so, but I really enjoy it. It's just not always the most healthy. So even though I do endorse healthy meals, I try to intensify the health, try to polish the turd, if you will, by adding mushrooms and the garlic and some of this, or any kind of vegetables that you could get into. You could add too if you want. So we're hitting this up, doing, again, not going to go too fine. That should be good, because we're going to throw that in at the very end and just toss it around. Oh, we're starting to get some brown action. That's what you want. That gives you some nice flavors. Going to add a little salt to this. We'll salt as we go. But it's good to sort of incorporate salt throughout the cooking process instead of just throwing it all in at the end. All right, this water is boiling. I think we're pretty close to adding the gnocchi. Probably should have cut this first. Basically a vacuum sealed pack. I find this a really good, they're super tasty. It's one of the best store-bought options you have for pasta. And I'll use about a little under a cup. A cup would be a fair serving. I'm not really too hungry, but maybe I'll just use just under a cup. This is how you portion it. If you just throw everything in a boiling pot of water, you never have any idea of what your serving size is. So All right, that's about a cup right there. Cup of gnocchi. That's kind of warm. And then I like to salt the water as well, so I'm going to add about a tablespoon of salt. It's not all going to be, you're not going to consume it all, but it will season the pasta well. Okay, in with the gnocchi. Mushrooms are getting nice brown action. Okay, so right now I'm going to add a little bit more oil just for this garlic to sort of let it do its thing in the oil. Otherwise, it's not going to. I want the garlic to get to a brown, but not too much brown. Gnocchi's in. It's at the bottom right now. So the gnocchi, once it's done, it's going to come up to the top, and that's when you know that it's actually finished cooking. It's literally like 2 minutes. And you also want to always make sure that you add enough water. You don't have a small pot. Even though you think that a small pot of water is going to actually work for how much pasta you have, you always want to overcompensate as far as the water goes. So, and that is because once you add anything to the water, but when you add any kind of volume to the water, it's going to decrease the temperature and it's going to stop the boil. If you've got a bigger volume of water, you're going to have less impact to the water once you add your ingredients. Oh boy, okay, I got to watch that garlic. Burnt garlic is not that good. That's turning into a nice golden brown, actually beautiful right now. And then right now, I turned up the wrong burner there. Oh, that is not turning. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with some of this pasta sauce. And that is splattering. All right, so I'm turning this down a little bit, and what I'm going to do is once the pasta's done, I'm going to throw it all in here, shake it around, add the parsley, and top it with some Parmesan. And that's about it. It's about a bit of a waiting game right now. You don't even necessarily need to use the mushrooms or the garlic. I just like to sort of elevate it a little bit because we're using this store-bought stuff. Even though it's decent as is, I think you can really take it to the next level with some small steps. Yeah. I know, you can see Brandy. That one's for you, Mike. Here's Brandy. She just got a haircut yesterday. She's terrified. But she looks around for scraps on the ground. She's always looking around. Even outside, she sometimes finds little pieces of bread and sometimes like really gross stuff. And you got to watch that. So here we go. We're coming up. It's almost done. Going to turn up the rear a little bit. Turn up the action in the back. Action Jackson. And yeah, this pasta sauce is basically done right now. It already comes done, so I'm really kind of heating it through. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a little bit of pasta water. So I'm just taking a mug that has a handle. I'm going to take I don't know, like a half mug of this pasta water. And the reason that you can do that is because now that the pasta has actually cooked in this water, it gets kind of starchy. So if you have to adjust the flow, the consistency of your dish at the end, you can always add some of this seasoned water and this sort of starchy water. It really finishes it nicely. And we'll see if we have to do that or not. So the gnocchi are starting to float. I've got a colander in the sink, so I'm going to drain that. I've got the water, so I don't have to use any of that. And yeah, the gnocchi are all floating. All right, so I'm going to turn off the rear, drain this. Okay, now gnocchi. In with the pasta. If you don't want to flip, like tomato sauce isn't the best to kind of do that technique with because it's a bit messy. And basically, this is done at this point. I'm just going to sort of cook it in here a little bit and let the gnocchi, the little mouth pillows, as I said earlier, I think they're just like the texture is just so awesome, even in store-bought. Highly recommended. Once these are done, as you can see, they're kind of starting to kind of boil a little bit and cook through. I'll probably just do this for about 30 seconds. In fact, maybe a little longer. I'll add a little bit of this water to just give it to that nice pasta finish. And we're almost there. We're like 1 minute till flavor zone. And if you wanted to make 2 servings, you do the exact same thing. You'd use maybe 2 cups of the gnocchi, or maybe a little less, whatever your sort of requirements are. They're pretty carb heavy, so you don't always want to eat this too often, but it's super tasty and super easy. And better than most of the pasta that you'll make on your own. Gnocchi is Claire's favorite food? Well, that's awesome, Tanya. So maybe you can try this if you're not already, or you probably already have your own specialty that she's into. The other thing you can do with gnocchi a lot of the time is they make like a butter sauce, like a butter with sage and garlic. You don't have to do it with tomatoes. It's actually a little less traditional to do it with tomatoes, but I'm trying to keep it pretty simple. So we're basically done here. The consistency is good. I don't know how to really say that other than it just sort of looks like it's about right. So I've turned down the heat, going in with the parsley. Another thing, here's a health tip. With anything tomato-based or with turmeric, you want to add pepper. It's going to increase the absorption by like a lot, by like 1,000% or something like that. And it's tasty. It gives it a nice spice. Hit it with some salt, and then I'll adjust at the end. I'm going to give it a little taste. Don't normally want to use a fork on a non-stick pan because you can scratch it up. So I'll make sure not to touch the surface. Warm. That is perfect. Seasoning perfect. Texture perfect. Brilliant. All right. Ditching this. Time for plating. As I've said before, I like to plate high. You don't want to plate things too flat out. You want to get it into a nice mound. So here we go. Get a nice a non-metallic spoon for your non-stick. You could also do this in a stainless, in which case you could use a metal utensil. So I'm just going to place it down, and I'm trying to build it up high and trying to make it look pretty. The higher, the better. Just takes a little extra time, but I tell you, everybody who eats it will just think it tastes better because of it. It doesn't, but the eyes sort of instruct the brain on how to sort of pre-enjoy the food. And then, I'm going to hit it with a little Parmesan. All right, we're gonna hit it with a little, this is a microplane. If you don't have one, you can use any kind of cheese grater, but these work really good for harder cheeses. And I'm just gonna top it with not very much, just a little bit, and that adds up some seasoning as well. So you can under-season your dish a little bit and then add some Parmesan on top, and then it's gonna kind of finish that seasoning process. And that's it. Gnocchi with tomato sauce and some Parmesan. Hey, so that's it for today. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to enjoy this. If you guys want me to try anything that you think is quick, that maybe you want some tips with, even if it takes a bit longer, I'll try to help you out with that. And again, if you like what I'm doing, jump over to my Facebook page, The Healthy Archer, and give it a thumbs up. Tell me what you like, or if you don't like it, tell me that too, and I'll try to improve whatever I can. All right? Yeah, it does look great, Mike. You can try this out. It's super easy. Anybody can do this. At the end of the day, cooking is not really that difficult. At least that's my thought. I think at the end of all of this kind of nonsense, which is like food TV and Instagram and food porn and all the rest, it really comes down to the easy things that you can do on a daily basis that you want to be running with. You don't have to worry about things that have super long extended ingredient lists. Like I was talking about recipes before. The first thing I do when I get a recipe book or a cookbook is I flip through the pages and look for the things that have the least amount of ingredients. And then maybe I'll try them. I'll flag them and maybe I'll try them. But most of the dishes are way too complicated, way too many ingredients I don't have. So I really try to focus, if I can make a suggestion for anybody, if you're a novice cook, if you're an intermediate or whatnot, maybe it doesn't apply to you, but you want to start with some really simple dishes that you can replicate and consistently perform and achieve well. Once you do that, then you move up to some more complicated things. But this is an example of a super easy dish. I showed you last week. I showed you a bean with sweet potatoes, which was super easy. And again, poached eggs. I think maybe the next one I'll do is like an omelet, a nice 3-egg omelet. I do really like omelets, and they're actually pretty easy to do, but they require some finesse. So until next time, peace out.